Alright, so we're a little over halfway through 2022, and you know what that means. We've got to find out what my favorite reads have been so far for this year. Let's get into it. What's going up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. As you heard at the top, we're a little over halfway through the year, so I figure let's have a little bit of a chat. Let's find out what some of my favorite reads have been so far this year, and then let's compare it to the end of the year list that I always do, and let's see if any of them get replaced, if it's the same list, or a little bit of something in between. So with that said, let's get right on into it. So I'm going to go ahead and say the first two on my list are ones that are actually still on my list from last year, just because these two series are still ongoing, and for me they are still just that good, that they are cream of the crop. Mwah, chef's kiss, you name it. So the first one on that list is Good Boy. They started volume 2 this year, and volume 2 has been nothing short of amazing. For anybody who's not read Good Boy, first of all, hurry up and get down to your local comic shop, buy it. The first arc was always sold as it's a bit of like a reverse John Wick. John gets killed and it's the dog in this world that goes and gets revenge. Well, volume 2 basically goes in a whole new direction, and the story really expands, and I just cannot say enough good things about it. The four color fiends, which are Garrett, Dr. Christie, Dave Lentz, Kit Wallace, just keep killing it. I cannot wait to see where the rest of the story goes. I don't know how many arcs they have planned, but I just hope that it just keeps going. It's one of those I don't want it to end, but I'm so glad that while yes, they got you in with the original hook, where they are going is so much more, and you really need to get down to your local comic shop. If you have checked out the first arc, you need to check out this second one, because I think you will pleasantly be surprised at how good it really is, and still is, even though it's been going on for about a year. So yeah, Good Boy, volume 2. The next one is, it's a favorite here on the channel amongst all of us. We love the book, we love the entire creative team behind it, and that is Pocus, Hocus. This year they have gone in with issue 3, they're fixing to do issue 4. All I can say is that this book is so good. The best thing I can say about it is that every issue goes somewhere. It is not one of those where you're kind of waiting for it to get off the porch and do something. It is always going somewhere. The story always goes in a new direction, or just expands upon something that you read in the previous issue. And honestly, I think that's the highest compliment you can pay to a comic, is that it always is moving. It's never sitting still. It never feels stale, never feels stagnant. And that is probably the best thing about this story, other than the fact that, yes, it is super good. The art from Brian and Jason is amazing. Of course, Dave Superstar Lentz putting all that stuff on there. Will and Alan. You want to talk about talented. You would never guess that this is the first series that they ever wrote, but yeah. It is so good, in fact, actually, that if you haven't heard by now, Pocus has been picked up by SourcePoint Press, so be on the lookout in the future for it to come out through them. Until then, though, just keep in touch with the guys on their social pages, and of course Kickstarter is probably the best way to keep in touch with them, at Will and Alan. And that way you can keep in touch for whenever they have updates. Like I said, issue 4 is actually on Kickstarter now. We'll put a link down in the description for you so that you can check it out and hopefully get yourself the entire series. They have a trade as well. If single issues are not your thing, just grab a trade and you can read the whole first arc, issues 1 through 4. So yeah. Alright, so now we're moving on into some new books. These are ones that I am very excited about. A little bit of equal parts of got them from the comic shop, got them from Kickstarter, and then even got one where we just happened to befriend the writer on Instagram, and it's been a really cool friendship ever since. So yeah, what have we got? So this next one is one that, as soon as the premise was told to me by the writer Mike Tiener, I knew I wanted to read it. Well, and I was like, there's no way this book is going to disappoint me, and it didn't. In fact, I did a review on issue 1, which hopefully we can put down in the description, or might link it here at the end of the video, somewhere up on the screen. I don't know where, so I'm just going to point everywhere. But it's called His Name is Wrath. If you are a fan of mech suits, if you are a fan of post-apocalyptic, if you are a fan of humans versus the dead or hell, this has all of that and then some. And that's just in one issue. I cannot wait to get issue 2, which hopefully I should get sometime soon. But yeah, it is so good. It's one of those series that, I get Good Boy and Pocus vibes from it. That's how much I liked it. And I have a feeling that for as long as this one goes, it's going to be a series that I constantly am talking about, referring to, because it's just one of those things. It's kind of a unique concept, because you do get your mech suits, but typically they're either fighting other mech suits or like kaiju. Not so much one single guy in a mech suit protecting the rest of humanity. I'm curious to see who is the one that's piloting the suit. I have a thought based on it I have a thought on who it is, basically based on what I saw in the first comic. I'm not going to say it. I will never say it to Mike. I'm going to give it another issue or 2 just to see. Then maybe I'll say something to him, but if I know Mike, he'll just be like, you got to read, man. So, yeah, if you can, get on over and check this out. Bad Bug has most of their books up on their website, so you can definitely get this along with Black Jackets, Midnight Highway, Dead End Moon, Undercity Tales. There's so many books. Bad Bug is going to be like the next Scout Source Point Press, I think. And I've said that a few times, but I really truly believe that, especially with all the books that they have been coming out with this year. So keep a lookout on that, because I think in the fall into winter months, you're going to see a lot of stuff from Bad Bug and all their creative teams coming in, and a lot of unboxings, a lot of reviews. And I wouldn't be surprised if several more of the books that I haven't had a chance to read yet might make it on this list. So yeah, keep an eye out for Bad Bug and everything they do, and snag you a copy of His Name is Wrath #1. Alright, so this next one is from Aftershock. I know, I haven't talked about Aftershock that much this year. Honestly, just Kickstarter has been so good that I've just kind of been more over there. But I still do get my pull box. I still get a lot of Aftershock stuff. And recently I got a set of several #1s from different series, and this one is one that I figured I'd like, but I didn't expect it to just kind of be the runaway favorite like it was when I read that day. This series is called A Calculated Man, and it is such a cool concept, one that I'm somewhat surprised maybe has been done, or hasn't been done as much in comics. Essentially, this is a former mob, like money guy, with an eidetic memory. And what I mean by that is he sees the world in mathematics, not colors. So math to him is colors. And what this allows him to have is a 100% accurate memory. He can recall where he was on, say, like March 10th, 2016 at 2 p.m. He can tell you exactly where he was, what he was wearing, the people around him, what they were wearing, what they were doing, a car that might have passed by, that kind of memory. And he has gone into hiding because he basically turned on the mob. And somehow, I guess, somebody has found him, so he has now captured these 2 people, and he's basically just told them, I'm gonna kill him. And it's a mix of, it's serious, it's got a lot of comedy in it because of this, and a whole lot of other things. And of course the art is awesome. And while I may not be the biggest math nerd, it is very fascinating to see how something like that is used in a comic context. If I were to use an analogy for people that maybe haven't read this, but maybe have seen the TV show Criminal Minds, think of Spencer from Criminal Minds turned up to 100. That's what the main character of this book is like. That's the best way I can think of to describe him, and it's awesome. I actually just got the newest issue today in my pull box, so I'm very excited to see where this particular series goes. So definitely get down to your local comic shop and pick up A Calculated Man. Alright, so this next one is not a new book by any means, but this is one that I think is a quintessential read for anybody who's coming into comics, especially fans of Marvel. I just recently did the debut episode of Retro Rewind with this, and I'm talking about Civil War. You have to read this. If you just want to get a mild understanding of the Marvel Universe and some of the more important characters, or the reason why some of the characters that you're maybe a big fan of in the MCU, why they're there, why they are important, and why they were chosen to be on screen, this book will help with some of that, and it will also introduce you to some characters that you should hope they bring into the MCU, like Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four and whatnot. After reading this, I definitely want to pick up some Fantastic Four stuff. Of course, I just want to pick up more Marvel big storylines to begin with, which luckily for me, Jay and Jenna have several of them here at the house, so I will be reading a lot more of the Marvel big events like crazy. So keep an eye out for that on future episodes of Retro Rewind, and of course get down to your LCS, check out Civil War. Alright, moving along, we are back to Aftershock again. I love Aftershock, what can I say? This book is called Heathens, or The Heathens, and it's basically was a mini-series about historical characters, basically killers for the most part, down in hell that get hired to come back and bring Jack the Ripper back to hell. And in turn of doing that, their souls get basically freed, and I think they get to go to heaven, if I remember right. I might be a little fuzzy on that part. But if you're a big history buff, this is a book that you will 100% love. Seeing people like Madame She, Billy the Kid, Lucky Luciano, and all those in modern day going after Jack the Ripper, this is something that you will really, really be a huge fan of, and I think that it's worth checking out. If the whole series, I believe, has run its course, so if you can, maybe try to find all the issues, or Aftershock is great about doing trades, and they should have a trade, I'm sure, coming out for it very soon. Okay, so this next one, this is a book that when I did the review on it, I joke, you almost felt lied to, but you really weren't. When the creators, Dan Price and Casey, talk about the book, they are actually 100% telling you accurately what's in the book. The only thing that they're not telling you is that what they're telling you is about maybe the first half of it. And the twist coming at the end left me and Jay just going, holy shit, throughout the rest of the book. I'm talking about Bigfoot Knows Karate. I was so excited when I saw this book on Kickstarter and immediately backed it, and luckily enough was able to become friends with Dan and Casey pretty quickly after backing it. And yeah, I've told them many a times, and I'll tell them till I'm blue in the face, I was not expecting this book to be what it is, and I can't not wait for issue 2, which I believe is coming next year, to see where they go with this, because they left it at such a holy crap point that I have to see where this story goes and where it's going to end. But yeah, so if you get a chance, you have to look up this book, get a digital copy, get Dan to send you a physical, and you have to check out this series. I think you'll truly, truly enjoy it. I mean, you have Bigfoot knowing karate, and he fights Kung Fu Thulu. That is one of the coolest names ever, in my opinion, for a villain. I mean, Cthulhu has kind of been a huge thing in comics recently, but Kung Fu Thulu is super cool. So I think you'll really enjoy it. Moving along. Alright, so this next one is one that I'm still waiting to get physically, but I've got my digital copy, and I've already read this several times. It's called Ragnarok, another Bad Bug Media book. I love it. Was excited to check it out because you've heard us talk about Dave Lentz. You know, there's that name that we mentioned in pretty much every video at this point here on the channel. But it was one of the first books that he's written. We all know Dave is the best letterer in the world. But to see him co-write and this story come to life has been very, very cool. And him and Mike and the rest of the team really did a great job on this. And it's awesome. I love music. You have to love music. But it's essentially about a Asgardian rock band that basically gets kicked off the planet because they tell them they suck. And they happen to go to Earth, and now they're like the biggest metal act on the planet. And they get called back to save the 9 realms with their music. And that's basically the first issue in a nutshell. So I can't wait. I don't know how many issues they actually have planned. I have not asked Dave and Mike about that. But it's a fun journey. It's one of those you can read it. You can have a really good time. And if you're a big fan of Norse mythology, this is also something for you because you get a little bit of that thrown in there as well. So it just ticks off a lot of boxes for me. It's fun. The musical aspect of it, Norse mythology, is something that, of course, I've always been kind of fascinated with as well. All right, so we're getting down to the wire here. I got 2 more for you guys. This next one is called Night Wrath, and I said this when I did the video review for it earlier this year. Thank you, Ryan Cummins, for sharing this. I didn't read the synopsis, nothing. I saw just the display picture, clicked on the link for the Kickstarter campaign, scrolled through it, saw the art, had to have it, backed it, never regretted it. This book, art-wise, is probably one of the coolest looking books of 2022. And I cannot wait to get the physical copy in my hands. I've read it digitally a couple times. I cannot wait to get the physical in my hand, just because digitally, books can look great, but when you see it on a page, man, just art really pops. And I can't wait to see how that book looks in person. So this one's basically about a guy who's just down on his luck, a nobody. If he was killed, would anybody really miss him? That kind of thing. Who just happens to get in the wrong place at the wrong time and get shot during a robbery, only to basically wake up in the middle of a lab and gets pumped full of some kind of experimental serum, becomes this really awesome anti-hero. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's a super cool book. They leave it on a really kind of fun cliffhanger, so I'm very curious to see where it goes, because the main character is conflicted between who he is, which is kind of like the silent bumbling idiot, and then the Night Wrath character, who is just like an angry Hulk mixed with a little bit of Spawn, is how I like to describe it. It's going to be a really cool story. Daniel Calvin has, I think, a real big hit on his hands with this one. And from what I understand, it's connected to his American Dreams universe, which actually is on Kickstarter now to close out the first volume. So very curious to see how he brings those 2 worlds possibly together. He teased that recently, so I'm like, all right, I got to know how this works. So yeah, Night Wrath. All right, this very last one is a series where, like I mentioned at the top, the writer had actually reached out to us on Instagram, and I am very glad that he did. It's called Reactive, Weaponized Armor, written by Will G, and man, we got the first issue in, and I thought it was truly really good. And he was close to having 2 and 3 done, so we got that. No, I take it back. I'm sorry. We had issues 1 and 2 first. He sent us those. We bought them, and he sent us to them, autographed them. They are some of the dopest, like, black, white, and gray comics you will ever see. No real splashes of color, except for on the covers, and it looks amazing. It's just such a cool book. Issues 1 and 2 were basically telling you the beginning of the story from two different viewpoints. The RWA team and then the alien that the RWA team is trying to find. They're showing the same event simultaneously. And then you get to issue 3, which, man, the whole creative team hit their stride on this. And Frost, who's the artist on this, this book is truly, like, it's as good looking as it is riveting. And in issue 3, they just take the story and they go to 11 with it on the emotional scale. I hope that issue 4 is not too long around the corner. I know I've seen them post some of the early sketches for it, so hopefully, maybe before year's end or the beginning of next year, issue 4 will come, and keep an eye out because I do plan to snatch up a copy of that. Probably I'll review it again. Like I said, I've reviewed all 3 issues so far. It's a really, really, truly awesome series. Alright, so that's my list of 10 so far. Let me know in the comments, what are your favorite reads so far of 2022? Remember, this doesn't have to be new comics that came out in 2022, although if that's what you feel like you want to do, I'm all for it. If there's older stories that you haven't read yet and you've got to read this year and it's one of your top reads, kind of like mine, for instance, with Civil War, I want to hear about that as well, because any new read is good. And let's just keep spreading the love of comics to everybody who will listen. That's my job. Hopefully I've convinced some of you guys, if you haven't read any of these, to go check them out. As always, you stay safe, stay healthy, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit that thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later, everybody.